All right, we are live. I am Uriah Kiser. I'm the founder and publisher of Potomac Local News. Thank you for joining us on this Potomac Local News podcast. We've got a real treat for you today. We have the entire cast of Next to Normal. Next to Normal is the show that will be gracing the stage next up at the Riverside Center for the Performing Arts. Hi, guys. How are you?
Hey, we're great.
Welcome, all of you. I think this is a record for the number of people I've ever had on the podcast like this at one time. So I really appreciate you guys coming on. What I'm going to do for those who are not familiar with this show, I've asked my friend ChatGPT to give me a rundown of this show and what it's about, and we'll see if ChatGPT is right, and if it's wrong, I'm going to let you guys pick it apart. Okay. That sound good?
Good.
Okay, here we go. All right. Next to Normal is a groundbreaking rock musical that delves into the complexities of mental illness and its impact on a suburban family. With music by Tom Kitt and book lyrics by Brian Yorkey, the show premiered off Broadway in 2008 before moving to Broadway in 2009. It garnered critical acclaim, winning 3 Tony Awards and the 2010 Pulitzer Prize for Drama. The narrative centers on Diana Goodman, a mother grappling with bipolar disorder and the lingering effects of a family tragedy. Her husband, Dan, strives to maintain a semblance of normalcy while their daughter, Natalie, feels overshadowed and neglected. The presence of their son, Gabe, adds a layer of complexity as his role is the family's dynamic is both poignant and revelatory. It's a good word right there, ChatGPT. I like revelatory. That's a good one. As Diana undergoes various treatments, including medication, psychotherapy, and electroconvulsive therapy, the family confronts themes of grief, memory, and the pursuit of stability. So, what do you think, guys? How did ChatGPT do in rating your show?
Pretty good.
That was not bad, honestly.
Pretty good synopsis.
Okay, all right. So now that we've
Oh wait, yeah,
And the doctors.
so now that ChatGPT has told us a little bit about the show, let's hear from you guys who are performing on this stage here. Talk to me about how this show is coming together and what we can look forward to when we come see it at the Riverside Center for the Performing Arts.
Well, I think everything is coming together great. We're really excited. You mentioned this is this show has won many awards. And now the show, when it came out, it was about 15 years ago. So we're looking at this show through a very current set of eyeballs. And how we look at mental health is a lot different in 2025 than it was in 2008, 9, and 10. So that's been really exciting and interesting for all of us to think about. We should note that this is pretty much a sung-through musical. We just had our first rehearsal last night with our awesome band led by Carson Eubank, and we're super excited because it's a rock influenced contemporary musical theater score. So everything is coming together great. We're really excited. We're doing our last studio run tonight, so we're moving into the theater. We're pretty excited about it.
Now I want to introduce you, Adrienne. Is that you?
Yes, that's me. Hi.
Well, hello, and you are doing this with your husband here, Andrew. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
So talk to me about the dynamic of you guys are starring in the show. You're returning to the Riverside stage, and you work together. You're married. Talk to me about this experience and how acting married as a couple. How does that work?
She is the most difficult actor I have ever worked with in my life. Never again. No, it's actually kind of a fantastic thing to get to do. Sometimes we talk about this show pretty much every waking hour. Sometimes we have to just have a day where we say, we're not going to talk about the show today because we're so in it, which I hope helps. But it's been kind of a really great process. We've known we were going to do this together for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
So we've kind of talking about the themes and the things we wanted to, parts of it that we wanted to tackle specifically for a good long time. So it's been fun.
So give me a sense of what this show. I mean, this is a rock musical, but it deals with some serious subject matter, right? So you have your singing, you have your music, but there's also a heavy message to this, and so how do you feel the show it just treats the subject matter going forward? Anybody feel free to jump in.
Anyone?
I feel like it's interesting. I think the show strikes a good balance between, because I think it has the conversation of, medicine, the whole idea of like, are the struggles that we carry, are they our mental health? Are they, more emotional from our souls? And I think there's an interesting conversation to have with how much medicine is too much medicine, how much, how much of it is working on yourself and how much of it is this sort of medical world. And so I think it's kind of interesting how they tend to live. The message I tend to get from the show is like life is about balance, and like you need to take the good with the bad and the happy with the sad and all those kind of things. That's all a part of what life is.
To tag off with that, themes in the show, they're expressed in kind of an ambiguous, open-ended way, and it's just show that the mental health journey is different for everyone. There's no black and white to it all. It's a big gray area. It's really about the individual journey of everyone going through it. So.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, and mental health is such, it's such a broad topic, but it's such a prevalent topic in our society today because, and just knowing that things like social media and, for kids in school, I mean, things are so different than they were just even when the show came out in 2008. I mean, when social media was just really getting started, and here we are in 2025. So what do you hope the audience comes and takes away from this, knowing, just the epidemic that mental health is in our country right now? What do you hope they take away from this?
Well, I think for starters, there's no perfect cure for grief. Everyone is meant to experience it differently. And I think especially obviously in this day and age, like we've talked about, mental health is just so prevalent. It's knowing that everybody's journey is different and there is no one right way to reach the finish line. There's going to be ups and downs. It's a constant roller coaster, and you just have to find the light in the middle.
I also think from the family aspect of it and how it's portrayed in this show, it's that while for the purposes of the storytelling, one person in the show is diagnosed with some specific mental illness. It also there's almost a level of contagiousness that it has, that the people that are around her and love her and have to care for her also experience their own versions of symptoms that may not have happened if she wasn't diagnosed. There's it's not contagious like the flu, but it does have an effect on the people around you and how they navigate the world. And I think anybody in the audience can find a character that they can see a mirror of themselves in. And I think that's, we said before that when you're on stage and you're performing a show, you want to have an effect on your audience. But I think this is one where you really wish that you could be there to listen to your audience having their conversation with each other on the car ride home to see what this brought out in them, because it's there's a lot to it.
Yeah, those are often the best shows when my wife and I are talking, on drive home, and we leave the theater and we talk about what we just saw and witnessed there. And it's interesting that you bring up the ones that are that sort of the ancillary effects of the people who are affected, by what happens. And it reminds me of a time that I went to cover a panel on substance abuse, and the person on the panel just simply stood up and said, raise your hand if you've never been affected by anybody who has been affected by drugs or alcohol. All right. And just no hands went up in the room, because everybody knows somebody who has been touched by that in some way, some form. Right. And so it's interesting that you say that, because it's not just the person who is diagnosed with the problem. It's all the people who love them and surround them and need to be there for them, or affected in some way. And that's I didn't even think about that. That's brilliant. So interesting. So is this one of those shows that that you want to do as a young actor, to get into and put this on your resume? Talk to me about the importance of doing a show like this.
We'll let the young people take that question.
Should we go?
Well,
Young
I'm
people.
understudying the show. I know when they announced it last year, I was very excited that it was coming here. I didn't know whether or not I was going to be a part of it, but it's been an amazing process to oversee as the understudy, watching it all come together, all of them coming together, and just really putting out this product that's really beautiful and amazing. It's been a dream come true.
Mm-hmm. For me personally, this show has held a special place in my heart for a few years. The story of, the themes it tackles on mental health is something that's really resonated with me. And yeah, as a young performer, it's important to me as a performer to want to tell important stories. And this is one that really resonated with me. And beyond that, I really love the score of the show, the pop rock of it all. It's just my bread and butter. I just love doing it. So
That's
I
fantastic.
agree with everything that you just said. It's definitely one of my favorite shows. Definitely a dream role is to be playing Natalie. So I'm very excited. Also being someone, who has dealt with mental health, this show in a way is very cathartic for me. I don't know. It's just like really awesome to kind of get to work through it with such a great group of people, and just love it.
To clarify, there is obviously, I also agree, it's an important show, it's a cathartic show, but it's also, maybe it's because I've been listening to this music since I was in high school and been falling in love with the show and storytelling, but there's a lot of, even within the heavy subject, there's a lot of joy in this show, and there's a lot of vibrancy and family, and it helps. My character Henry is one of the lighter characters, kind of brings more of that joy to the show, but I think even still, there are moments in the show that I just, I'm watching, especially with this wonderful cast, but I'm watching them and just makes me smile, just because it's so human and real, which makes it raw. It can make it, the difficult stuff difficult, but it also makes the wonderful stuff wonderful. And I think it has all of that, which I really respect about this show.
Yeah. Adrienne, and you are returning here. You were in Ragtime. You played Alice Murphy in Ragtime, and you played in Bridges of Madison County at Riverside. Andrew, you were also in the Bridges of Madison County. Is that where you guys met? And tell me, is that the love story? Is that the spark? Is that where it happened, or is that?
No, we've been together a lot longer than that.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
but we are. We feel very lucky to have a place like Riverside support what we love to do. I mean, I think we all feel very lucky about that. But as a couple, definitely we're apart a lot during the year. So to know we have something coming up together is pretty amazing. So we just love coming back here. We feel like, we come back to family, then we have new family members that we meet in every show. And it's just a really special place for us.
Yeah, and we're grateful that you have come back to us and to our community. Have you done this show before? What I mean, is this when you're on stage and you're doing this show? Talk to me about your takeaways. Have you done this before, and your takeaways from the show, both of you?
Has anyone done this show before? I think it's all of our first times doing this show, so that's really cool. And
it's very rarely done. It's
Yeah.
very rarely put up,
And our director, Penny Ann Moss, this is her first time directing this show as well.
Yeah.
So we kind of all got to dive into it fresh together with fresh eyes on something that none of us had really worked on before. So that was a really special thing for all of us, I think.
Yeah, and going back to the question you had before, it's always been, for any actor, it's kind of when you're a musical theater actor, this show is always on your radar because it's like getting a chance to eat a gourmet meal. There's these big moments of emotional catharsis, but there's also these tiny moments of real honesty and realism that doesn't happen in every kind of show. This dramatic realism in a musical like this is rare. So this kind of show is like, wow. And the fact that also that the show gets produced so rarely, it's a treasure to get to be part of.
Which I think is a travesty, because I do think the writing of this show is some of the strongest in musical theater canon. It's a very balanced script. the book, like, because sometimes you'll do a musical and the score's great, but then the book itself is just lacking. And this is not one of those situations.
Yeah.
What does this say about Riverside that they're willing to produce this show and bring this subject matter to their stage? Which, I mean, we're coming off Mockingbird, To Kill a Mockingbird, very, it's serious, and there's, time, Tale as Old as Time, and it's a great story. And we've had Wizard of Oz, and we've had all these wonderful musicals, but this one is it just feels different. And so what does this say about Riverside as a community theater willing to put this on stage and put this out to the community?
I think that is a great question. I think it says that Riverside believes in its audience to want to see an array of things. Just like you would watch on TV, you don't just watch happy stuff on TV. You watch all sorts of drama and horror and, a comedy. And I think it says, we respect the audience enough to know that people want a mix of things. This isn't necessarily a feel-good musical. It's a feel-everything musical. Right. And so you're going to feel good. You're going to feel things maybe differently than you would feel watching something like, Sound of Music is coming up, which is absolutely one of my favorite musicals of all time. It also is a feel everything musical, but it's a little lighter. People think of it a little more, a little differently. I think it just shows that Riverside is growing and is willing to, it respects its audience enough to bring something like this to them.
Well, I think transition to nonprofit too. It's a different idea of how you approach, how you produce your things, and what you're putting out for the larger community. And that you seek to entertain, but you also seek to maybe make a little bit of a change, or put different stories that challenge people, which is kind of a cool thing. When you're a nonprofit organization, that just by definition, you get to have a different way of practicing business, and your responsibility is to serve your audience in a different way. And I think this show kind of shows that they're fulfilling that obligation.
Yeah, no, we're very excited to see the work you have done here, and the music that you're going to sing and the story you're going to tell. We're very excited to see that. It starts Next to Normal, starring Adrienne Hick. It starts July 2nd, and it runs through August 3rd, 2025 at the Riverside Center for the Performing Arts in Fredericksburg. Get your tickets. Go to riversidedt.com. Click on Next to Normal, and then you have all the tickets and everything that you need to know. Guys, this has been so much fun. Thank you for coming on the Potomac Local News Podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right. And guys, thank you for watching the Potomac Local News Podcast. If you want to keep up with what's happening in your neighborhood, please go to potomaclocal.com. Check out our news there. You can also get our daily email newsletter that I craft daily and send that out. Sign up for our free email newsletter and never miss a beat on what's happening where you live at potomaclocalnews.com. Thanks for joining us and have a great day.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.